Okay, so this will be the process of saving this file down and getting it off to a press facility, or in this case, just me. Um, what we need to do is start creating some uh, sort of folders to organize all of these files that we're going to be collecting, basically. Um, and this is not like absolutely necessary in order to pull off a print job, but it is something that is majorly appreciated by a press facility, and it's also just really smart for you to stay on top of these organizational processes here. So I'm going to go to my desktop and I'm going to just going to open up my file directory. I'm going to go to my online class, Illustrator, and I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call this magazine, whatever, that's fine. Magazine's fine. Magazine. And then inside of magazine, I'm going to make several new folders. One of them called proofs, and another one called fonts, and another one called TIFF, and another one called spacing out originals. Okay, that should be enough for now. If we get to a place where I think I forgot one, then we'll just make it later. So now I'm ready to go back to Illustrator and start getting this thing out of here. So the very first thing I want to do is I want to be able to provide the printer with some basically a proof, or some proofs that show them basically what my intention is here, what my document should look like. This is what I made. Have a look at it, and it's not going to need any sort of fancy program to look at it. I'm not going to worry about text, fonts, or linked images, because I'm just going to end up saving some flat files, more or less. So under File, I'm going to choose to save for web. Whoa, it's so big. Shrink this down for you guys here. Here we go. Okay, save for web. And what I want to do is I just want to save a JPEG. So I'm going over here to the right side. I'm going to choose the preset of JPEG High. I don't have to worry about anything else. This is all good. I'm just going to hit save. And I need to find a folder for this. And oh, that's not the one I made. Where are we? Classes, online, Illustrator, magazine, proofs. Here we go. Okay. So what I would call this would be something like Canis Sparus proof. And you know what else is also very helpful is a date. Sometimes you can put the date at the end. You don't have to worry about that for now, for me. But it's just another organizational element that will help everybody. Okay, so when I hit save, I end up having a file in my proofs folder that is a JPEG that can be emailed. It can be looked at in a preview application or anything. So I don't need Illustrator to look at it. I don't have to worry about fonts or anything like that. It's all good, nice and flat. So that's a proof. And the other proof that we're going to save is going to be a PDF file. And a PDF file is done by saving as a copy I'm going to do save a copy because I don't want to replace this document. If you do save as, we'll lose our magazine. It'll end up being a PDF here. I don't want that. Let me make this smaller. Okay. So under save a copy, I need to go to my correct folder. This is going to be a proof. I'm going to call it the same thing, except it's going to be a PDF file. So I changed the format down the bottom here to be an Adobe PDF. Adobe PDF is a really great compression. Everyone should know and be familiar with PDFs. When I hit save, it's going to open up a Save Adobe PDF window. And here all I want to do is I just want to I don't want to preserve Illustrator editing capabilities, and I do not want to create Acrobat layers from top level layers. Okay, so we don't need someone to come edit in Illustrator because this is just a proof, and this is a funky thing, the whole creating Acrobat layers. It brings out all kinds of weird stuff, so I always uncheck that. You could view PDF after saving if you wanted, but we're not going to really get into anything here. That's all that we're going to do. Hit Save PDF, and it'll go through and save your PDF file. Now in that proof folder, you should have two very versatile proof images, one JPEG and one PDF. Those will be able to be viewed in all kinds of programs and not create any trouble. Alright, so now we need to do another thing from the file menu, and this is something that, well, I'm not actually going to follow through with this, but I'm going to do it. I'm just going to show you how to do it in case you wanted to do this at home or at the library or something. You can print off your own plates and do some management, or basically just, kind of what's the word I'm looking for here? Basically try to troubleshoot anything by printing off your own plates that's done on paper. And that would be done from the print window. If you go to the print window, a couple of things here. Let's see, I have US legal, so it should be set up to print on a big guy here. What we're going to do is we're going to change our printer, our PPD. See this little guy here, to a generic PostScript printer. PostScript is a file. You don't actually print. It ends up creating a file. So we're just using a generic PostScript printer. And we're going to go with, I don't want to, we can fit the page because this is not anything that's going to be printed at the final end, and this is just something for you to do basically to troubleshoot on your own. Like I said, I'm going to go into marks and bleeds. I'm going to set up all printers marks. This will give you trim marks, registration marks, color bars. These are all just very good elements for you to get used to as far as what a printer would actually use to basically align and make sure that all the plates are set up exactly, and then where the trim lines are and all that stuff. Okay, so here under output, you want your mode not to be composite. If it's usually set to composite by default. Mine, since I've already gone through and done this once before, it was set to separations. But here, composite just means, yep, we're going to take all those CMYKs and just slap them together and output a nice file that has all those. But what we want is separate. plates for each color. So we're choosing separations, and down below you should see that you have the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. It gives you the frequency of your dots, the angle of the dots, and that they are default halftones. So this is going to give you the dot pattern of how that ink for each plate will be laid down on your paper. It's really cool. If you were using some like spot colors or Pantones or something like that in your document, those would also be listed here. So you can get into more colors if you want to, or even just strip down some of these and just leave it with your lab colors or your spot colors. We don't have to worry about that though. So now we've done pretty much everything we need to. We've set it up so that our PPD is a PostScript printer. We've got our marks and bleeds out. We've got our output set to separations, and this should all fit on the page now. I am going to hit save, and it's going to say, all right, where do you want to save this thing? So I'm going to put this PS folder just right at the root level. I'm not going to stick it in any of my subfolders, but I'm going to call it Canis Baris Sep. Canis Baris Sep, and hit save. Okay, now if I go back to my desktop, here's a PS folder. And a PS folder will open up in Illustrator, but you don't really want it to. Because what you want to do is you want to make this into a file that you can actually like deal with. Oh, if you just wanted to print it, by the way, if you just wanted to print it, you could go into that print dialog box, and instead of choosing the PostScript file, you could set it up to go to a printer, like a laser printer or something like that, and then just hit print, and it'll print off all of your plates that way. Or you can go about it the way in which we're doing it here, which is I'm going to open this up in another program that can read PS files. And if you're on a Mac, you can use Preview. If you're on a PC, I don't know what you'd use. In fact, this little process right here just might not work for you, which would be sad. I'm just going to show you what I end up having. Alright, so here is the CMYK breakdown of all my plates, and it'll tell me which color this is. So this is my cyan. It says cyan up in the corner here. Plate number 2 is my magenta. Plate number 3 is my yellow. And then plate number 4 is my black. Now what you should notice here in the separation is that there is no black text in any of the first 3 plates, and that's one of those things that you have to look for. And this is why you do this. So you were troubleshooting. We're just trying to make sure there's no trouble. So we're not troubleshooting yet. But if I saw text over here on this side of the page, where my text was in black on any of the first 3 plates, then I'd know that I had some trouble, and I'd have to go back and fix it. And this goes back to the thing that I was talking about in the last video, where if you have anything in black, you want to make sure that there is no CMY, that there's only the value of K, which K stands for key, because back in the old days of printing, they used to call the black color the key color. So, you know, obviously any place that's white is just not going to have ink on it at all. So there should be a hole where it says "Beat me up, Scotty" on every plate, because that's just going to show through to the paper. But this is what a plate would look like at the printer, okay, for each one of these things. And it's really kind of cool. How close can I get in here? Well, no, it's not actually going to show me the dots, not on this file. Anyways, at this point, I could save this as, from my preview program, I could save it as a PDF. Canisparus separations.pdf, and that'll be a more versatile file that you could also print if you weren't printing from Illustrator directly. So now I've got two separation files, one PDF, one PostScript file, and those are there for your own pleasure, right? Those aren't important for the printer. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Illustrator, and I'm going to do a save as a copy. I'm going to call it Canisparus, and it's just going to go in the base folder. I'm going to change my format to Adobe PDF. I'm going to hit save, and now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with high quality print as my preset. I do not want to preserve Illustrator editing capabilities. You don't want to let anyone else mess with your stuff. But here we can go to marks and bleeds and turn on all of our marks. We want to use our document bleed settings to make sure that the bleed that we set up with our document for the magazine is going to use its own bleed settings, not anything that we want to force here. So now output. We do not need to do any conversion. We don't need to change any of this stuff here. This all looks good. Getting into advanced security summary. Nope. Everything is dandy at this point. What we need to do is just hit save. And this PDF file is a high resolution. Let's see if I'll open it up in preview. Yeah. It's a high resolution composite that is ready for your press facility if they can use PDFs. So this ends up giving them the trim marks where this will be cut, which is also for you if you just want to print it and cut it. So you'd lay down a nice ruler or something like that that'll stretch that distance, and then you would cut from here to there and from there to there and there to there, whatever, and it'd be perfectly trimmed. But anyways, it has the color boxes for them for registration. It has these little registration dots so they make sure that all the plates will line up perfectly. So if a press facility says that they can use a PDF, this is what you would do. You'd give them a PDF like this. It gives them all their crop marks, all the registration marks, everything's all set to go. And it's still CMYK and everything is groovy. I'll just quit and get out of that. Alright, so then the last stages of preparing your file would be that you would save this just as an Illustrator file, so that all your most recent changes are updated. So you'll have one that is your final file. So I'm going to do File, Save As, and I'm going to go back to the magazine folder that I made, and I'm just going to call it Canisparus.ai for Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to add, I think at the end, I'm going to add no, I won't add anything yet. I'll do that on the next one. Okay, so now I hit save. What format, what version? You should be, if you're dealing with a printer, you should talk to them about what version of Illustrator that they would be working with. Okay. That should be a quick one. now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of safeguard myself and save another version of this with all of my text outlined. So I'm going to do a select all, Command A. So everything is selected. I'm going to go to Type, Create Outlines, and then shoo, that has now broken the link of editability for the text. However, the printer isn't going to have to worry about fonts anymore, which is great if there's a problem with the fonts. Generally, you want to keep it so that they have a version that has editable text and one that has outline text, so that it's just basically safeguarding. If something goes wrong with a font, or it's corrupt, or something's weird, or they don't have it, they can always just go by the standby with the outlines. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save a copy of this, save as, the same thing in the same folder, only this time I'm going to call it outline. Boom. Sure. Done deal. All right. So I've got my original Illustrator file with editable text. Everything is just normal. I have another Illustrator file that has all my text and outlines. Sometimes a printer will ask for an EPS file, and if you need to do that, you'll do File, Save As. I will take outline out of the equation. There we go. And I will change my format to an Illustrator EPS file. And they'll ask you a few things about it. You don't have to really worry about any of these things. By default, they're good. Okay, so now I've got an EPS file for the printer as well. They've got a lot of things to choose from. The final step in preparing this folder for the press, or for me, for this project, will be to put your images that you've used in your magazine in the TIFF folder, and all of the fonts that you used, you need to put them in the fonts folder. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to open up my original raw file. I'm just going to have a look at some of my text, my fonts here. So this font that I used is called Pointy. So I'm going to have to go into my computer system, right, the files, and find the font called Pointy and put it in the folder called Fonts for the printer. And if any other fonts that I used should also go in there, even if they're just standard. Like this is Helvetica. You know, printer's going to have Helvetica, but just in case, I'm going to put it in there. I'm going to find all these fonts and I'm going to stick them. I'm going to copy them because you don't want to move them from where they're at. You should copy and paste into the folder. So Pointy. So I'm going to find Pointy. Get a new window. I'm going to search for Pointy. Where is the font? Where is the font? It's a good question. Drats. Well, it's somewhere. I have to find it. Hopefully you'll be able to find yours. Okay, so if you have Photoshop files that you made your TIFFs from, you're going to want to put those in the originals folder. So if there was something that was a multi-layered document, you can save a copy of that in the originals folder. The idea here is to send off your project to the printer so that you've covered all your bases. You're not going to have missing images because you didn't embed them or whatever. They're just linked files that live somewhere on your computer but not the printer's. That's not going to happen because you're going to have your TIFFs in the TIFF folder. You're going to have fonts there. If the printer doesn't have the font that you used, you're supplying them with the font that you used. If there needs to be a change to the original Photoshop file, then you've got the original Photoshop file there in the originals deal. And then proofs, so they know what it looks like and what to expect. This is the folder that you're going to need to create for the project, the final magazine project that you're turning into me. and you'll upload the folder with all these things in it. And this is the folder that you would send to your printer on a disk or upload it at FTP or whatever. And if you follow these steps, you're going to have a very happy printer, and they're going to appreciate all the work that you did to help make sure that everything is going to be going okay. It's going to save them time, it's going to save you time, they're going to like you, they're going to like working with you, and that's all important stuff. Instead of, you know, kind of having your head up your butt like a lot of just sort of hack designers out there don't understand a lot of this stuff, and they don't really care about making life easy for the printer, and then they get angry phone calls or emails, and then bitterness takes over. All right, that should do it.